NBA offseason is here. The NBA Finals are over. Following days in the NBA Finals, it's gotten me thinking what teams are under the most amount of pressure to win big in the offseason, to succeed in the offseason. Now with the NBA season being at least put on hold for a little while, there was a few teams that crossed my mind, and I want to talk about them. There's 3 teams I want to talk about, and then there's the 2 honorable mentions. The first one is the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, with the Lakers, there's already been an offseason guide posted on YouTube. Shout out to Jackson Law, and also shout out to Jared Prosser, who's been posting offseason guide articles on vendetta.sportsmedia.com. So make sure you guys go check out Jackson's videos here on the channel and go check out Jared's articles over on the website. Shout out to those guys. Now, the Lakers, LeBron isn't getting any younger, and their core right now is really just not good at the moment. You just look at the season they just had, and LeBron had an MVP caliber season, but for a team that missed the playoffs. AD was hurt, Westbrook didn't really play well with this Lakers team, and I wasn't really a fan of the Russell Westbrook trade to LA in the first place. The Lakers really don't have any good young assets to trade, or really just good quality assets that teams are going to be chomping at the bit to get anyway. The best thing they can really hope for is finding a trade partner for Russell Westbrook and just getting out of his money. And I guess a dream offseason for the Lakers is I guess they find a way to bring in Kyrie Irving if things go south with Brooklyn, which it seems like that's where it's leading towards. But I think Kyrie goes elsewhere. But again, that would be a dream scenario for the Lakers, being able to have Anthony Davis come back healthy and being able to pair up and swap Westbrook out for Kyrie. Top priority for the Lakers is to find a trade partner for Russell Westbrook, unless you're going to run it back and just try to build around the core that you already have. Next is the Boston Celtics. Celtics were 2 wins away from an NBA championship. Being the runner-up for an NBA championship comes with massive expectations on their own, because the championship window is now open for Boston. Now officially open. That's their expectation now, is to be contenders and to find themselves deep in the playoffs at this point going forward. Now, the Celtics have a great defense, and the Celtics have a great young two-way duo in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But they need to try to add to that. You need to look at some of the weaknesses that the Celtics had: turnovers, the missed threes, just the lack of consistent offensive presence for the Celtics, and the biggest killer was most definitely the turnovers. Now, the Celtics have gotten the green light by ownership to spend this offseason. So I am fully expecting that the Celtics are going to be making moves, or at least try to make one massive move and a lot of under the radar moves. But I do expect them to make a big win now move. That win now move, in my opinion, might most definitely be getting a third star, whether it's somebody like Bradley Beal, seeing that his situation in Washington seems it seems very likely that he's going to leave Washington. And to see him in a Celtics jersey, I don't know how I feel about that at the moment. But for me, as a Celtics fan, it will probably make a certain someone very angry, because this is his favorite team. But if the Celtics could find a way to acquire DeJounte Murray, I feel that's maybe the best offseason move that they can do, is to get Murray from San Antonio. I don't know how it would work. I don't know how available he really is, but it's a dream scenario, because he addresses a few issues that the Celtics have. He's a really good playmaker, and that's one thing I feel the Celtics should try to target, whether it's somebody like Ricky Rubio, if you can't get someone like Murray, or D'Angelo Russell, or Tyus Jones out of Memphis. Something else I feel the Celtics should add is more consistent scoring throughout the lineup. DJ Warren, or Carmelo Anthony, or Alec Burks, just guys like that who can give you consistent scoring night in and night out. On to some of the main teams. Dallas. Now, Dallas Mavericks. Many would say that the Mavericks overachieved making it to the Western Conference Finals. A lot of people didn't really have Dallas maybe going that deep in the playoffs to begin with. But from what I've learned watching Luka and this Dallas team going through, even way back in the bubble, is that Luka Doncic can win you a playoff series. There's no denying that Luka is a top 10 player in the NBA right now, averaging 28, 9, and 9. The thing is about Dallas, you have this great player in Luka Doncic, but you're on a timer. He did sign his rookie scale extension. You have 5 years. Now, I told Jared this, I don't think Luka is going to be willing to wait if Dallas doesn't start making big time moves. if Dallas doesn't really start showing progression to be a place where Luka would want to stick around. I feel that Luka could most certainly leave even before the 5-year window is over. But I feel the acquisition of Christian Wood is a good start. And just trying to find that running mate for Luka ever since the Porzingis trade really hasn't worked out all too much. Some things I feel the Mavericks are most definitely going to have to address in the offseason is re-sign or trade Jalen Brunson. Because there's been rumors swirling around that the Knicks could most certainly be in play for him. Dallas is gonna have to throw a hefty bag to keep him. He's a really good player, absolutely. And I feel Dallas is just in a bind to where they really aren't able to try to let guys like that go. Now, is he gonna blossom into being that second star that Luka's been looking for? Not necessarily, at least in my opinion anyway. He's still a really good player. And I don't even think the Christian Wood acquisition is really that second star that the Mavericks are looking for to pair up with Luka. But it's a start. Next is the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, they lost in 6 in the Eastern Conference semifinals to Miami. Joel Embiid had a really, really good season, was runner-up for the MVP, but then kind of started phasing out. The whole team really started phasing out when they started getting to Miami. And it's not really Embiid's fault because he didn't have to battle a few injuries throughout the playoffs. They got James Harden back in that Brooklyn Nets trade for Ben Simmons. He wasn't the James Harden the Sixers thought they were getting back. At the time of the trade, it looked like Philadelphia won the trade most certainly. But now, more and more, it seems that Brooklyn might be the winners of that Brooklyn Nets trade. Or it might be 2 losers, who knows? When it comes to Philadelphia, I don't know how long the Sixers are really going to have when it comes to a championship window. Because they're in win now. They traded for James Harden because they're in contention for a championship. It's championship or bust for this team. And I wasn't really a big fan of Harden going to Philadelphia either, because it puts Philadelphia in a bind because he's going to pick up his player option and they're really going to have to lock themselves in to keeping him around long term, whether or not he works out. At that point, if you let Harden go, then what do you have to show for the Ben Simmons trade? Not to mention Tyrese Maxey has been a really good piece for Philadelphia as well, and I feel them building around Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, as well as what you get from Harden, the 76ers can be really formidable. But again, they got to show us something in the playoffs. I don't view Philadelphia as a huge threat. They're like the Eastern Conference version of the Jazz. They're really good in the regular season, but then start phasing out in the postseason. And you can chalk it up to injuries and whatnot, but I've seen this team and this core long enough in the postseason. They have to show something. The best thing I feel the 76ers can do is find a trade partner for Tobias Harris, try to get out of his contract. Hope Harden returns to form, and just you want to be able to build around Maxey and Embiid, and even try to find a trade partner for Tyrese Maxey if you're really trying to move him. But I feel if he even finds a somewhat consistent jump shot, his value increases immensely. And the last team I'm going to talk about today is the Brooklyn Nets. And I alluded to Brooklyn a little bit earlier with the Kyrie Irving situation, and that's definitely fresh news, and it's something to take into account for the Nets going into the offseason. The Nets, if they lose Kyrie Irving, what does that mean for Kevin Durant? KD is there for the next, I believe, 4 or 5 years. He's locked in to Brooklyn for the foreseeable future. And if Kyrie Irving walks, unless you get something substantial back in return in a sign and trade or something, it's really just a ticking time bomb before Kevin Durant requests a trade. Now, Brooklyn underperformed when KD got hurt. You get an injury, it happens. It's just the fact that they were in contention for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference until Kevin Durant went down, and they slid all the way down to the 7th seed. And then they get swept by the Celtics in the opening round of the playoffs. They really need to prioritize getting bigger, because you see in that first round playoff matchup with the Celtics, they were at times running 3 or 4 guards. You had Patty Mills at like the small forward at times. That's what I'm talking about. You had like Kyrie Irving, Patty Mills, and Goran Dragic, and then paired up with like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is around 32, 33 years old, and he's going to become a free agent by the time he's 37, 38. The biggest thing the Nets need to do is prioritize this Kyrie Irving situation. Whether you're going to keep him or try to trade him, if you let him go for nothing, that kind of starts a domino effect for the rest of Brooklyn's future, because getting chalked up in the air. Because at least in my eyes, I don't see Kevin Durant sticking around too much longer if Kyrie Irving isn't there. As a Celtics fan, I'm ready for the Celtics to make a big move, maybe 2. But just as a basketball fan in general, I'm just excited to see how the league is going to shake up and just how teams are going about winning a championship. And some moves may work out great for teams, or they may end up backfiring. But that's the wild, wild west that is the NBA offseason. There's going to be winners and losers, but all we got to do is wait and see.